Hi, guys. Happy Tuesday, and welcome back to Reading with Mrs. Durham this week. Today is Tuesday, September 22nd. Hopefully, you're at the right video. We are going to be needing your reading and writing workshop book today, and we're going to be reading the same story we did yesterday called Six Kids, and that is on page 34 to 43. So, if you're getting your materials out, that's all you really need for me today. So, we talked yesterday about city living, country living, and the differences between the two. We live more in the what? City or country? We live more towards the country, right? We have a lot of farms, we have a lot of farm fields around us, and everything like that. We don't have a lot of really big buildings, not a lot of noise. It's pretty calm. Like I told you yesterday, I can kind of hear my crickets outside right now. So we do live more towards the country. Of course, we live in the city of Knoxville, and it is a city, but it is a smaller city. So today we're going to keep talking about the differences between city living, country living, and then we're going to also talk a lot today about visualizing and putting that picture in your mind when you're listening to somebody reading, how you feel, or if you were in that spot, what would it feel like? So we are going to start off first by reviewing some of our vocab words that we talked about. Yesterday we talked about this guy right here. He is bored. He's sitting on a bus, looks a little bit bored. Do you remember sharing things that you do when you are bored and you don't want to be bored? What kind of things do you do? Another word that we talked about yesterday was the country, and we talked about how the country is land outside of a town or city where there's farms, not very many people, pretty quiet. We did not talk about this yesterday, this actual vocabulary word, but we talked a ton about this yesterday, which is a city, C-I-T-Y. It's kind of tricky because it has a S sound, kind of like a snake, but it's a C. A city is somewhere with big building, lots of people, lots of noise. And now we're going to talk about a couple words that you have not seen before. The first word is scurried. Scurried. Do you see that word right there? Scurried. So like this dog probably chased a squirrel up a tree, and that squirrel probably scurried or ran really fast, like whoo, ran really fast up the tree. Scurried. And then our last word that we're going to talk about today is feast. Feast. A feast is like a big fancy meal with all sorts of different food. So this, like some families have a feast on Thanksgiving. Thinking about Thanksgiving food makes me so hungry. What foods would you eat at a feast? If you got to choose whatever foods you wanted to be at a big dinner, what would it be? I know I'd make sure macaroni and cheese was there for me. Or maybe like pie. You guys know I love pie. Okay, so thank you for doing those vocabulary words with me. Today, we are going to be reading a story called City Mouse, Country Mouse. And this is the time where you're going to visualize or picture things that are happening in the story. Imagine you're there. Or what would it look like? Like, can you make it a movie in your mind? So as I read, I want you to listen to what I'm reading and see if you can visualize it. Once upon a time, there was a happy little mouse that lived in the country. One summer, she invited her cousin from the city to come and visit her. When her city cousin arrived, she tried to show him how pleasant and relaxing life in the country could be. They sat on the porch and looked at the stars as they listened to the crickets chirping. They nibbled on delicious country foods such as breadcrumbs, cheese bits, nuts, and berries. That does look pretty relaxing, doesn't it? Just sitting out on the front porch, just kind of, can you picture yourself like just rocking in a chair, looking at the stars, feeling the cool breeze? Okay, so this cousin is from the city, and this one is from the country. So he came to visit her house. Are you enjoying country life, dear cousin? The country mouse asked. But the city mouse was not impressed at all with the country life. He missed the sounds of the taxis and buses. He missed the shops and the people walking in the busy streets. In fact, he was quite bored. He replied to his cousin, "You poor thing, life in the country is much too quiet, and the food is so plain. Dear cousin, come back to the city with me and I will show you how wonderful life can be. The food in the city is fancy and delicious, unlike any that you have ever tasted. So what's happening in this picture? He is not really liking the country. He says that he likes the city better, that it's too quiet for him, which is okay because it's all right that people like different things. That's totally fine. It's up to you and to decide what you like. So he's dreaming, looking at all the food. He must be hungry. The country mouse wanted to see whether her cousin's life in the city was as grand as he described, so she went back to the city with him. When they arrived, the country mouse was surprised at how noisy the city was. Cars were honking their horns, and there were so many people. She was happy when they went inside a large brick house. The city mouse led the way to the dining room, where the people of the house had already finished eating dinner. There were many wonderful things to eat still sitting on the table. What a feast! Ooh, we talked about feast and the word feast, exclaimed the country mouse. Her eyes grew big and round as she gazed at the chicken, potato salad, rich cheeses, strawberries, jellies, and chocolate cake. The country mouse began to think her cousin was right and perhaps she should move to the city. But just as the two were about to eat, a huge cat pounced on the table. Oh, do you see that cat? Uh-oh, does that cat look nice or mean? He doesn't look too happy that there's a mouse on his table. That chocolate cake looks really good though, doesn't it? I told you, anything sweet would be yummy. So the city mouse doesn't seem too scared, but the country mouse is kind of like, not sure. Let's go, cried the city mouse as the two mice scurried, which means they ran really, really fast, into a mouse hole. That big cat lives here, explained the city mouse to the trembling means like scared, like shaking country mouse. We will have to hide for a while, but we can go back and eat later, after he is gone. But the country mouse shook her head and she said, as soon as that cat is gone, I am going home just as fast as I can. You are welcome to all the fancy food you can eat. As for me, I think it is better to eat simple food in peace and safety. And the country mouse went back to her simple life in the country and lived happily and peacefully ever after. So does the mouse really live in the house, or does the mouse live kind of in a hole in the wall in the house? That wasn't really his house, right? Because this cat, probably, if it was a pet mouse, this cat would probably be used to him. But that cat does not seem to be very happy that he was trying to eat the scraps off the dinner table. So it's kind of funny because the country mouse she thought she might like the city, but really when it came down to it, she liked the country where she was. And when the city mouse went to the country mouse's house, he was like, I like the busyness. And so that's awesome. They each like their houses for what they have in them and what's around them. What were you visualizing in your mind? Because kind of at the end there, like I know we talked about in the beginning how we were like kind of rocking on the chair, looking at the stars. Like I could feel myself being there. But at the end, when they were like scurrying away and like going to hide, I kind of like was picturing like Tom and Jerry in my mind. Have you ever seen Tom and Jerry before? Where they go like, and they usually chase each other and they run around. I kind of was thinking about how the mouse like went scurrying into the hole and he like was running away from the cat really, really fast. So it kind of like I was kind of picturing Tom and Jerry as like a movie in my mind. So that's what I was visualizing. Remember, visualizing is putting the things that you hear being read into pictures and video and just putting yourself there in your mind. So that's where my mind was kind of at as I was reading. Even when I was reading, I was thinking about what it would look like if that was kind of happening in front of me. It'd be kind of cool. So awesome. Well, thank you for listening to that Country Mouse, City Mouse story with me. Now we're going to talk about some new words this week. Last week, we talked about how when we're talking about others, you have to put an S on the end of what they're doing for it to make sense. This week, we're talking about double consonants at the end of words. Now, what's a consonant? Ooh, that's a really big word. Well, we know our vowels, right? A, E, I, O, and U. It's not those. Those are our vowels. Our consonants are all the rest of the letters of the alphabet. And sometimes words have two of them at the end. Wait, two. double. Have you ever gone and ordered ice cream and be like, I want a double scoop of ice cream? That means 2 scoops of ice cream. So today we're talking about double consonants. So 2 consonants, and those consonants are all the other letters that are not A, E, I, O, or U. So let's give some examples so you can see what I'm talking about. When we have double consonants, the reason why I'm teaching you about it is because we don't say the sound twice. We only say it once. So on the word buzz, there are 2 Z's, buzz. But I don't say buzz, I don't say Z twice. I only say Z once. So when you have a double consonant at the end of a word, you only say the sound one time. Okay? Like the word jazz. Have you ever listened to like jazz music before? Jazz music. It's like people play it with a saxophone and it's like very smooth. Jazz. It has 2 Z's, but it only makes the sound of 1. Okay? Or like the word mall. Mall. I don't say mall, I say mall. I only say the L once. Same with like the word ball. Ball. I just say L one time. Pretty cool, huh? Can you think of any more examples of words that have 2 consonants at the end of them that only make 1 sound? Awesome. There are so many words that actually end this way. And throughout the rest of this week, we're going to find out a lot more of them. A lot more of them is what I was trying to say. If you want to read those words or even practice writing those words, go ahead and pause me now because those are some great words to practice writing. Okay, we're going to move over to a clean part of the whiteboard here. And we have been talking about words that we talk about a lot, we use when we're speaking, we write them a lot. They're called high frequency words, or words we use a lot. And today we're just going to practice spelling them out. Okay, so I'm going to show you the word, and then as I write it, I want you to spell it out loud with me. Okay, so our first word is very. See how it is very busy and very noisy there? Very is spelled, spell it with me, ready? V-E-R-Y, very. Good. The next word is down. They are going down the stairs. Down is spelled D-O-W-N. Down. Good. The next word is out. Like they are getting ready to go out. Out is spelled O-U-T. Out. Good job. And our last word that we talked about this week is up. Like they are going up the mountain. And we spell up U-P. Up. Good job. Are there any words that you could put in a sentence that you could write out maybe? That would be an awesome thing to practice. Okay, thank you, high frequency words. Now we are going to move over to our smart board. And now you can get your reading book out and open it up to page 34, which is on the story called 6 Kids. And we read it yesterday. Do you remember what happened in the story yesterday? Something really silly happened, and I can't wait to read it again. Today, I want to talk about, though, what kind of story is this? So we have read a lot of different stories. We have read realistic fiction stories, which means it's stories that are made up but could happen in real life. We've read nonfiction stories that are true stories. We have read just regular fiction stories, which have just been written by an author, just created, haven't really happened yet. Then you have a story like this, which is called a fantasy story. And a fantasy story is kind of like a fairy tale or a story that is made up and usually probably isn't going to happen in real life and sometimes can be kind of silly. But a fantasy story always has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It has something that starts the story out. It has something in the middle that's like important to what's happening or maybe a problem to solve. And then at the very end, they always kind of solve that problem, or they tell you what's going to happen at the end, and they kind of like end the whole story and give you a good, happy ending. So we're going to see how this story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And we're going to talk about those details. We talked about details last week too. We're going to talk about the details that make this story all come together. So this story is called 6 Kids. That's the title. Okay, go ahead and turn it to the next page. If you can follow along with your finger on your book and follow with me, that would be awesome. 6 kids go out. Ooh, we just talked about the word out. So that means they're leaving. Okay, looks like they're going. 6 kids go up a hill. There they go. They're climbing up that hill. Who are they following? 6 kids dig, dig, dig. Oh boy. Looks like they're digging. What's it look like they're doing? Maybe planting something? 6 kids go down. That's another one of our high frequency where it's going down. So going that way. Here comes the funny part. 6 kids pick, pick, pick. Oh boy. 6 kids are very blue. Do you remember this from yesterday? Look how blue they are. Look at his mouth. Is he picking blueberries or is he eating blueberries? He's eating blueberries. Look at this one. All you see is his boots. He's in the whole wheelbarrow full of blueberries. And can you see the dad? Does the dad look too happy? Oh boy. What's mom doing? Mom's kind of laughing, isn't she? Those are some crazy chicks. 6 kids dip, dip, dip. That will fix it. 6 kids like it here. They are happy. Are they happy once they get all cleaned up from their big mess? Yeah, they were pretty blue, for sure. So we're going to go back and we're going to see if we can find what happened in the beginning, what happens in the middle, and what happens at the end. Okay, so at the beginning of our story, what are they doing? They're going out, right? And it looks like they're on an adventure. They're going somewhere. But on this page, do we know where they're going yet? Not yet. So just in the beginning, we know that they're going out for the day. So that's kind of a key detail. Once they get going, now we're kind of getting to the middle of the story and figuring out what they're doing or maybe running into a problem. They look like they're planting something, right? So that's a detail that happened, is that they're planting something. But then here's like the middle of our story. What happens? They get all blue. They picked blueberries and made a huge mess. So that is kind of the middle of our story. They made a big mess. So what's going to happen at the end? At the end, they had to go get clean. So they got all washed off. See, you can see that they're wearing their floaties. They're being safe in the water. Took all their boots off. This one's jumping off a tree branch. Is that very safe? But because they all got cleaned up, then they're all really, really happy at the end. So in the beginning, they were going out kind of for an adventure. In the middle, they got caught in the blueberries and made a huge mess. But then by the end, they found a pond to wash off in and get all clean. So on our last page, it kind of goes over those details that we kind of talked about. It picked up. And remember, details are little events that happen that make our story have a purpose and make a story a story. Those little things have to happen, and they all have to be about the same thing. Because remember, they can't just be all random. So a detail they said was that the first 6 chicks walk up a hill carrying farm tools. Yep, that happened, right? That happened in our story. Then they dig holes to plant seeds in their garden. Yep, that was kind of next, right? And another detail that happened was then the 6 chicks picked their blueberries. That did happen. It did. Did that exactly tell us the beginning, middle, and end? No, because the way we went through the story was just a little bit different. But are these key details that did happen? Yeah, all those things happened in the story and were important parts of the story. So that's a silly story. If you have time and want to go back and try to reread the story all by yourself, wow, how cool would that be? We've read through it twice now. So you should be able to go back and see if you can remember some of those words that we read together. So, all right, guys, I think that's all we have for reading today. We talked about so much stuff. We talked about high frequency words. We talked about the city. We talked about the country. We talked about double consonant words. We talked about our story today with these 6 kids and crazy blueberries. I don't think that there's anything else that we have to cover. So if you have any questions, let me know, let your teacher know. But I can't wait to see you tomorrow for reading, and I hope that you have an awesome rest of your day. Bye!